fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast, it's fun. The BYB fun. Backyard podcast, it's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast. It's fun. The BYB show. Fun. Backyard podcast. It's fun. BYB podcast.
Three plus years running. I think we've done about 130 something, 135 of these.
Did we start in the pandemic?
We started during
We're doing it. We're having it.
COVID mandates.
Welcome, everybody.
We started our phone calls like almost every day for 2 hours a day. And then eventually we were like, let's do a podcast. So we started doing the podcast around the time that Kumia and Gavin McInnes were doing their show. So I've always been kind of looking at how many shows they've did of Compound Censored and say,
look at that
right
wonky eye. Are you looking at me or what?
Well,
what's going on
it's
here?
still going.
Tony.
You know, Tony and I, we use Mondays as a chance to catch up throughout the week. This is our phone call. You guys are listening in on a phone.
Just with less, but the only difference is we talk a lot about local comics and stuff that's just way too boring for people.
Yeah, we try to
don't watch because this is going to be boring. Please don't tune in to our phone call.
What'd you do? Anything cool?
How was your weekend?
I got really drunk on
Here we go.
Saturday.
Oh, you got really drunk. Oh, wow. What'd you do, Chad? Well, I got really drunk too. That's what I do every weekend.
I took an Oxy.
Pretty much every day, but the weekend especially.
Sorry.
I have really bad neck problems, so basically all weekend I was either drunk on Saturday and kind of stoned yesterday.
Drunk on cringe, am I right?
I have a reason for it. I've been hurting myself. I'm an older gentleman now, But no, it was around and just drank all day to the point where I got home.
Oh, thank you, Dela, coming in hot with 5 gifted memberships.
45 minutes after I got home,
Thank
and I'm
you,
watching the
sir.
Shane Gillis SNL monologue.
Sketty Dip, aka
about what I
Dela.
did.
Let's lead into that. Shane Gillis hosted Saturday Night Live. What'd you think? Did you watch the whole thing? Did you?
First of all, do you have a picture with him? Because I know that was the rite of
Do you have
passage.
cable? Do you watch Saturday Night Live on cable? Does anyone have cable? If you have cable, doesn't that mean you're kind of out of it?
Next big thing, I'm telling you. We worked together at a firehouse in Muskegon, Michigan, in 2015, and here we are.
If you
That's what my comic did.
That was hilarious, Tony.
Purposely, I go. I'm the only comic who doesn't have a photo with Shane Gillis. Congrats, anyway. And
there you go.
It's just he actually saw it.
I was in a club once, and
it seemed like everyone has a photo with Shane Gillis. Like I worked with him down at Side Splitters.
I totally ran him down and like forced him to take a selfie with me. I was like, "Hey, you know Chad
he was
Zuma,
a road
right?
dog. Like he was like
I'm
came
the
up
famous
the
Chad
right
Zuma.
way. You did what you had to do. You were a host. You were a feature. You became a headliner. You know, he just really grinded it out on the road. And
it's called being
put his
good
time
at
in and,
comedy, not grinding.
Everyone was rooting for him. He was almost like a Rocky
something
type.
You'll never be.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. None of us watching, like that watched Shane because
where do you want us to watch, here or there? I want you to subscribe to the
everybody else who's
Sniper
about
Squad,
Shane, that,
the
he used
Sniper
retarded, he
Network,
said cracker and gay,
and I'm trying to build up enough subscribers where we can monetize that, because obviously it would be nice to do this and make a couple bucks, but if that's not the case, then so be it.
The way I looked at it is, yeah, he's not going to go in there like Norm did and just rip on the show that just fired him. And there's a reason for it. I talked about this on my Patreon.
Yeah, hit the like button there, subscribe over there, but also hang out here and gift me memberships and money.
To host the show after getting fired, and Shane's is
so I did post the link at the top of the chat, so it should be pinned up there, so you should be able to just click on that link and take you straight there.
For those 1 to 2 days,
it is hard to find
compared to where it is
all
now.
All brand new channels are hard to find,
and it's shitty now. So what would he be saying, that SNL was better in 2019? Because it wasn't. It's still garbage.
No,
it's garbage then. It's garbage now.
Some of them
and your podcast is garbage.
Well, the Limu Emu one was pretty good, and it got cut.
Yeah.
And the DraftKings, the whatever, the gambling one. But I've always said this about SNL: their best stuff are their pre-taped.
Their best stuff is on Twitter.
Live ones.
You can just go look at it all on Twitter. The 5 good clips that exist, because everything else sucks.
Pre-record are pretty good.
Look at the 5 clips that were funny and move on with life.
There's just so many people on that show now. I don't even know who these people are.
You gotta love that neon sign behind fucking
so many people.
Tony,
I just remember when SNL had
that's not
at one point they had like 6
so you're not on air.
Like
What's going on here, Tony? What's up?
And now it's like 23.
We're not on air.
I mean,
and the only time in the last decade
we're not having it, Tony.
Who would you say were the 2 biggest cast members from SNL in the last decade? Leslie Jones and Pete Davidson. And what did they get famous for, and why were they on the show? Because they're Leslie Jones and Pete Davidson. Pete can't do characters other than doing Pete Davidson, and the same with Leslie Jones. And they're 2 comics, by the way. So any one of these,
if you didn't know that they're comedians, Leslie Jones and Pete Davidson are comedians.
It doesn't take off the way it did in the 80s and the 90s. That they don't really have the comedic timing. Of course, they're
deep insight brought to you by Tony Mazur
like Bowen
and
Yang,
Chad Zuma.
He's
deep
garbage.
thoughts.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
deep thoughts.
And Bowen Yang was part of the class that was hired when Shane Gillis was there. So Bowen Yang is
Yang, and Leslie Jones, our diversity hires. Come on,
that it used to be. And you and I have talked about this. That
and she was actually funny, but she was too black for SNL. She was too black and made it look bad that they had black people that actually say the things that they say when they're alone in their house. Actually came out on screen, and she was actually funny. But too funny. That's a problem.
Same with SNL. Are you going to get that big A-list movie from SNL, or are you going to hopefully do commercials for Verizon Wireless? That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, SNL used to be a vehicle for movies.
Do you remember SNL?
What are the movies coming out of SNL
used to be a
now?
vehicle for movies.
I mean, there's nothing.
I think the last one wasn't there was a Will Forte movie a few years ago.
Do you remember?
Or maybe an Andy Samberg. But that's
do you remember
MacGruber? That's from SNL, right?
Yeah, and I think that may have been the last one. I can't recall another SNL sketch that became.
Do you remember when SNL made movies?
Yeah, I mean,
they were funny. Do you remember?
Would you say Wayne's World's the biggest movie out of SNL?
Wayne's World, party time all the time. Excellent. By the way, you guys should try partying sometimes. Like Wayne's World,
The Ladies' Man with Tim Meadows. Boy, they had a number of stingers.
Do you remember Tim Meadows?
Who were in the Night at the Roxbury?
When he was the ladies' man and whatnot.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah, I by the way, Blues Brothers, what a fucking great movie. I love the Blues Brothers.
It's a messy movie, but it's still fun.
I love it that it's a mess.
It's messy, like my apartment.
The music and all the randomness, and
especially when I wake up in the morning and there's empty Tito's bottles laying everywhere. Do you remember that?
It's great.
Oh yeah, that was this morning.
You watch because of the cameos. The cameos are great, and some of the other star cameos like
I tripped over my pizza boxes,
but I love Frank
stumbled
Oz
over the Tito's bottles and made it to my computer so that I could bring you this fine entertainment on a Monday morning just for you
folks. And Fozzie Bear right there.
And isn't Steven Spielberg like the guy eating the sandwich? Was it Steven Spielberg?
Yeah, it is Spielberg. He's the one eating the sandwich, and he's the county auditor towards the end of the movie.
But there's just so much funny shit in it.
Joe Walsh is in it too.
Where's Joe Walsh in the movie?
Joe Walsh is the first prisoner when they're doing Jailhouse Rock at the end. He's the first one who jumps on the table and starts dancing.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. No, there's like so many like random things. Like Elwood Blues comes home and he's like, "You got my Cheese Whiz, boy?" And he just throws him Cheese Whiz. There's like and then Carrie Fisher like just blowing up the whole building and shooting at him because Jake Blues stood her up at the altar. Wow. It's just so funny.
And Henry Gibson as the Nazi is just hilarious. Oh, wow. The guy was on Laughing for all those years, and he ends up being the priest in Wedding Crashers towards the end of his life. And it's you have Henry Gibson doing the whole thing. We're like, what's the holdup? The Nazis, the fucking Illinois Nazis.
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
Yeah, especially back in the 70s, right?
No, the music, everything about that fucking movie is fantastic. Nazis, I love that movie.
Huh?
And Paul Schaefer should have.
But they drove them guys off the bridge. You remember? You remember that scene when they drove across the bridge and the Nazis? Yeah, they went flying off the bridge. Oh, the mayhem! It was a wonder.
Going back to Shane, did you like his monologue? I thought it was good.
I liked it. Yeah, I mean. For people, I saw Misery Loves Clips was posting this the other day.
Yeah, it was like the vagina monologues. Do you remember the vagina monologues?
Shitting on the show, but I think it's one of those things that you just
a bunch of pussies get up there to do monologues and then say nothing. It's so
Shane is
fucking
big in the Barstool sports
it's
community,
so brave,
digital
so
compound
brave.
media, like our people. We're in our echo chamber. We not only do we know who Shane is, many of us have worked with Shane. Yeah. His goal is to try to be a little
pictures with him.
more mainstream and get some of those.
Do you remember when we took pictures with Shane Gillis and he was rolling his eyes?
Okay,
I got him in the exact perfect.
He seems kind of funny. Maybe I'll go see him if he's in town. He's trying to spread his brand, so he's not just going to go up the whole time and say, "Yeah, I'm on SNL. They fired me. The show sucks, but here I am."
And Norm was on for years.
He was already a celebrity. Bowen Yang got me fired because he doesn't
he's
comments about
well-known
Asian people. Well, you had him on now.
I always go to my
late.
aunt. If my aunt
I guess Bowen Yang doesn't have the power he thought he had.
She knows who the Kardashians are, but she doesn't know who Shane Gillis is.
Do you remember when Bowen Yang went after Chrissy Mayer?
But I thought all in all it was fine.
It was great.
I mean, the thing that people root about Shane is he's just never changed. He's just still that same guy. So.
Yeah, and what they perceive as nervousness or saying a joke didn't go over
well. Of course, he's changed a little bit. Did you not see him on Compound Media?
Many different audiences.
That's the real Shane.
You
idiot.
What you're getting
yourself
into.
Of course, he's had to dial it back.
You're going to be
everybody
in front
had
of an
to dial
audience
it
of
back,
tourists
right?
and stuck-up New Yorkers that. But he's worked in front of those crowds. He's passed at those clubs. So those same people who will go to the Comedy Cellar on a Tuesday may stick around for a few days and get tickets to go see SNL. He knows those audience. He's not really nervous. So I thought it was a good monologue. I thought it was good. Was it mind-blowing? Was it Louis C.K. level? No, I would say not at that level, but it was good enough thought he did a very fine job, and I really hope the best for him.
No, I think
what a hot take. He
did
a really fine job.
He was really trying to be funny in the sketches.
It's
he
fine.
Really was putting
something
fine. Into it.
He did it.
Dislabel's been a member for 11 months. Can you say you're a member for 11 months? Thank you, Dislabel.
Can you say member?
Keanu just
do you have a
had a bad fart
chip?
And it was human.
Do you member chip?
That's a big difference.
Please.
We'll talk about
Please get a
member
member
in a second. But
yeah, we got a tease here. We're gonna do that in about 20 minutes.
How dare you? Member for 11 months. Look
anal
at this
farts
idiot.
are the worst. Ask Tony. Okay.
I know.
Dislabel, the guy that gave Chet Zumak my file, my doxing file that he hasn't released yet. But I better behave myself or else he probably will, right? Because he's seen the inside of my trailer, and it's not good. How do you feel
about Tukey talking shit about your set?
But is it Tukey or is it the guy behind Tukey? That's what I want to know.
Wow.
Doxing. Two different
Tony's
people.
doxing Tukey. Oh, no.
Like two different people.
You mean Bedabbler?
Say something. It's not necessarily what Otto would say.
Yeah. So, yeah. Or it could have been the he wears the mask guy, too. El Horrible. Could have been him.
Yes. Or El Horrible.
Or Horrible. Yeah. So, who knows?
But, you know. Horrible?
But, yeah, keep taping comics.
I guess the Mudshark don't speak Espanol.
I did a set on Friday.
Not very well.
Gig. What was
that's right. Last week, if you're just
very little, like your dick.
Didn't they give you a whole laundry list of things to roast other people and talk about the company? And you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, it was a private event, and they basically, the guy who was running it calls me, and he goes, I'm going to email you a list of, people that work there. We're going to tell you a little bit about the company. Just roast us. Let us have it, man. We're like, we love comedy.
Roast us, man.
We love busting balls. And I'm like, I'm just going to do the 45 minutes and get the fuck out. So it was in Clearwater, and I actually went to Clearwater for like a couple days just to hang out. Got a hotel.
And, you go to the Hooters?
I did not. Go to the Hooters. I did go to Hogan's Hangout, though. I went to Hogan's
Hangout. And I have these memories, but they're over there on the wall. My memories, they're over there.
I get to the event.
When I talk to you folks, the guys like, you fine folks, have fun, man. Look here. When I look for memories, they're over there.
Okay.
They're on.
So I had a couple jokes.
I wrote them on my chalkboard. I got over there on the wall. My memories of my corporate gig I did, and I came in and they were like, "Roast me, man, roast me." Just roast me.
Yeah, man, we were hoping it was going to be more like a roast, man. I thought
we're doing it. We're having it.
I go,
roast me.
I was like,
it's happening.
I talked about the company a little bit. He's like, yeah, but I told you about Gary. I told you about Joanne. And I go, yeah, I don't know these people, so it's kind of awkward. It's kind of weird, and I want to
I don't want to write notes down like Gary is this, Diane is
busting balls.
A whore, Bob is bad, has bad jokes all the time.
Give me that check and let me get the fuck out of here.
Darren, he's a real fat slob, and he brings donuts in every day. I didn't want to write the stuff down so I could do a proper roast job. I just wanted to wing it.
It was in my bank. I was like, I'm not waiting. In case this guy says,
always,
you did come on a recommendation. You did come on a recommendation. We thought we were going to
a recommendation from who?
And I'm like, I'm sorry.
What comedian gave Chad Zumak a recommendation? Does anyone believe that?
This roast battle stuff it's honestly so cringe. I mean, look, I love Earl and everything, but a lot of those comics know each other. The point of roasting is that you know a little bit about that person and you can really rib them.
Yeah, Earl has said that. I had him on the podcast. That's exactly what he fucking said. It's better when it's people that know each other because, yes, you have insight to them. And back when they used to do that at the comedy store, it was very, it was much better back in the day because those people were actually like a close-knit community. So, yes,
Tubby, what do you think?
Yes, knowing things about each other works better.
You're supposed to actually know those people as opposed to, hey, I gave you talking points. So what are you supposed to do? Pull out a manila envelope and open it up and go, Gary. So Gary, I hear you're going bald.
Yeah, that's exactly what you should do. That's not how this
works.
Yeah,
that's exactly how it works. Yes.
The amount of money they paid me was ridiculous.
You could throw in 5 jokes about people that you don't know at the behest of the guy that's paying you money to do it.
I won't ask how much you get paid, but did you get paid more or less than what Ray gets in super chats?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I probably got paid more than Ray made all year. I mean, it's insane. But Like, but
so you made $10,000. We know that Ray made 10 grand last year just off MLC. Did you make more than 10 grand at your corporate gig?
They'll probably never have me back. That's fine. But
Chad's there's logic. A difference between crowd work and roasting. That a roast, any one of these roasts are planned jokes. That these aren't not just I'm going off the cuff. It's like I'm tearing up my notes here and I'm just riffing on the crowd. Now, there's a big difference with that. Sure, you can do a gig like that and maybe do a couple of jokes about people in the crowd, but
things that elementary kids know. That when you roast somebody, deep inside again from Tony, giving it his all, man. Just giving it his all. He's doing it.
Like, oh, hey, remember that time you did this? Hey, remember we were on the road and you got too drunk and you pissed all over yourself? Stuff like that. You don't know those people, so there's a major difference.
What's Chad look at on the wall over there? There has to be some kind of like
company or it didn't happen. I will never tell you the company's name, Salvador.
Does he have to write his thoughts on the board?
There's a lot of gigs I don't even tell you about because of you guys fucking harassing them.
It was Winn-Dixie.
Yeah, it was the Kroger. I did Kroger.
The Kroger gig, yes.
The
Kroger grocery store.
But anyways, yeah.
You told the joke at the
I just hung out
Kroger
at the beach. It was so fucking fun just to, Florida's a trap, man, because you always feel like you're on vacation. That's the problem.
But that's what's so weird about it is that you live in Tampa and you're giving in Clearwater and you're like,
it's like a vacation every day in my condo that I never leave. It's like a vacation in here. Maybe he turns on like videoscapes of
exactly
videos from a beach that he never goes to. It would be like
if I said, you know what, I'm getting away for the weekend. I'm going to Westlake.
Yeah,
I have all these gigs that no one knows about. They're totally secret.
To be by the ocean, and
I don't want people like showing up and like messing with me, and I don't like want Melton to know about them because then he'll actually he'll ask questions about the venue, the hosts and whatnot. Then they'll find out I only make $50 a show.
Yeah, I think Norton shut up shop on that. He did. I think it just ran its course. Like I think he's just like, I'm over this.
What about Doug Bell? Is that still going?
I think that's gone too. I think those just ran its course.
So you think Doug Bell, we miss you, Paul, Chip Chipperson, Sudley, all the kid, all those characters? You think now that Jim is a happily married man to a beautiful woman that that everything is like he's now moved on and has evolved a little bit?
Allegedly.
I can't speak for Jim Norton, but I think the pandemic was we were all bored pandemic, and we were trying to fill our time, and I think that's probably what it was.
You know what the best part about Doug Bell is that you and I have worked with a number of those comics that he basically is doing he's a collective of.
Yeah, we're watching two of them right now.
Old, crusty guys that we would see at the comedy club on the wall, and you go, I have no idea who any of these people are. Yeah, well, they were a headliner. They used to work with Dennis Wolfberg back in the day. Oh, okay, that's
like
great.
Ray says.
What are they
he
doing
goes
now?
everywhere, and he's like, "Hey, you know Chad
Zuma, basically what Doug Bell was.
Yeah, I worked with those guys.
Is that where you go in an AA
I got
meeting
pictures.
Tonight? Yes,
I got selfies with Chad Zuma.
I saw Melton bring.
Has anyone ever said that in the history of the world? I got a selfie with Chad Zuma.
How have you not seen this?
Has that ever happened?
What are you talking about?
The liquor store.
Oh, yeah, who gives a fuck?
And he keeps tweeting at MLC going like, why haven't you guys talked about this? And Kevin's like, yeah, we have talked about this. We've moved on. We've got other things.
In all fairness, that is an old story.
Even Jim Stansel was defending you.
Right.
Yeah, it was 6 years ago, and I was fucking hammered in a liquor store, and they were compensated. Let's just say I paid them.
Yeah, that's not the point. You committed a crime. You're a fucking thief. You're a fucking shoplifter. What do you mean?
By the way, I want to thank the $100 sponsors.
You paid enough money that they dropped the charges? Doesn't mean you're not a fucking thief. It doesn't mean you're not a kleptomaniac that can't keep his hands off of people's stuff. Jesus Christ, you steal everything. Maybe you only do it when you're wasted, plastered, and you're like out of your mind, and you do stupid blackout
Ken
stuff.
Mosca, David Chandler,
but you
Jared
definitely
Thompson,
are
Stu
a
John,
criminal,
Twingo 99, Tucker Steve, Randy P, Jack, Anthony, Craig T, Big Papa, and Silk City Hot Sauce.
Melton says it all the time.
Code
just because you got a plea deal, or they dropped the charges, or they made it a lesser crime, doesn't mean that you did not commit a crime.
Somebody said
that. Yeah, I've seen that over the weekend, so I'm not original. I never are.
Yeah, by the way, right, beloved chatter fucking nailed that one. Yeah, by the way, if I haven't stolen your wallet yet to use your credit card, why don't we go ahead and show our $100 sponsors, because I didn't have to steal their credit cards to take their money.
I don't understand.
They actually gave it willingly.
Look, I've done a lot of shows.
You're pretty much helping fund a
I've never
thief,
seen a comedian like Chrissy,
a grifter.
Something's always happening at her shows. It's always something going. Someone's getting removed. Somebody's getting thrown out. Somebody's on stage. They're evacuating the premise. Like, everything's always happening at her shows. I don't understand.
Right. It's Chrissy's fault
shows
that
are
shit
usually
happens
boring.
at
Either
her
people
shows.
laugh or don't. Usually the latter.
It's not that she's a little bit conservative and people don't like that,
so,
and they want to show up
Chrissy
and
was
hurt
doing
her.
The show. What was it?
A woman,
comedy?
A pregnant woman. Awesome.
And was it the Morris Plains one?
I'm not sure exactly where. Yeah, it was Morris Plains, the dojo. She seems to be always.
It happened to the wrong person. It should have been Chad. For some reason. But she said here, I don't know if you could see it. It said here.
Smaller.
Here.
She tweeted out after my comedy show tonight during the meet and greet.
If you hit show more, you can read the entire statement.
Faggot, I'm assuming.
Let's see.
So she's shocking, like she's like she has
looked it up on the wrong tab.
That's just like
you're not going to be able to open it up and read the whole thing.
Pepper sprayed me in the area, sending many of us
geeks and gamers. Come on, man, open it up and let's hear it. Hear the whole thing.
For fresh air. It seems everyone is okay, but why is this always happening,
dude?
I don't get it.
And Chrissy is basically ready to pop right now as far as her kid. So it's being pepper sprayed is bad enough, but being pepper sprayed, I don't know what that does or if that's going to cause any kind of.
It's going to affect the baby. He will probably come out with some.
I think this might be her last.
He might come out Down syndrome. He might come out half
she has a little Pellegrino coming
half deaf. He might come out half deaf.
Well.
I'll tell you what ain't retarded. Those titties on Chrissy ain't retarded.
As you know, I'm not a big fan of Chrissy and Frank. I think they're terrible people.
That's the nice thing about ladies being pregnant, right? The titties fill up with milk.
I've never seen somebody
does a body good
as bad as her.
A baby.
Anything.
A baby.
I guarantee.
Does a baby
I would put money down that Frank did the pepper spray just for the story. I bet if there were real actually pepper spray, I bet Frank would probably did it and they blamed it on somebody else.
Man, this guy's thinking is on another level, dude. I mean, that's genius. What a thought.
Whether it happened or not, and if
Frank
it did happen,
sprayed
his
wife in the face with pepper spray.
We've been lied to about a lot of stuff in this country over
the
last 60 plus years now, calling people conspiracy theorists.
Let me see.
So
can we do
who knows?
this?
I don't know what to make of it. I hope though that this video gets out there. I'm sure a comedy club is going to have some kind of hidden camera. I mean, except for Jeffrey Epstein's cell, but everything else has cameras that we can see who did it. Is it somebody wearing a mask? Is it like what happened? It was again somebody. Oh, you were great, really great, and then thanks. It was a great show. Look forward to seeing you again. Psst. Is that what? And that sounds like what the story seems.
I don't know. I mean,
that sounds like what the story seems.
Every establishment has cameras, so there's got to be video of that happening, of them coughing and. Running for the doors for fresh air. I'm just saying, Chrissy, I know you don't like me either. I know. I said you were unfunny, and that was warranted. I mean, you had to have me banned from
this guy's an asshole
because of it. I get it. I mean, this is crazy.
Well, she got you banned.
So
I would ask Keanu because she's on my podcast this week, but we recorded it
which
2
is
weeks
low
ago,
life drunken behavior. Maybe that's more likely the case, huh? Why stop now, buddy? Keep going, guys. This is going great.
What did you and Keanu talk about?
We talked about the fact that she still has an OnlyFans and she's engaged.
Oh.
So I asked her, I said, are you going to keep it around?
She doesn't really use it.
Is Gino happy
anymore.
with the fact that you still have an OnlyFans?
It exists.
So, tune in.
It exists on the internet. Like anything you put on the internet will always exist. Other than that, she's not adding content to it.
We did, yes.
Yeah.
How her and I were the most. Me and her were the most mature people in all of Atlantic City that weekend.
I can't believe it. I mean, yeah, we kind of we did keep it together. I mean,
Chad and maturity, two things that go together.
When we got to the venue,
right,
I think I was the only one who wasn't drinking. Like everyone else was fucking. Like Gino was hammered by the time Keanu got on stage.
Yeah, I was. I think I had a shot. I had about 2 beers, but I'm fine before that.
Well, maybe if you would have got plastered drunk, you would have actually said something funny on accident.
And
of course, not on purpose. I think
when I started hanging with John, I was at his beers numbers 21 through 25.
Oh, man. Boy, did I get it yesterday. So John sent me the link to his podcast.
Beers 21 through 25.
I'm not doing anything. I'll go on for a couple minutes. And I guess from what I understand, Kevin went off on me for going on his podcast.
Really?
Yeah, I hadn't seen it. I don't know what he said, but apparently he's not pleased that I did John's
podcast.
He's
not happy.
I was like, I only went on for like 15 minutes. It's not like I wasn't doing anything. If he would have sent me the link, I would have went on his show.
I didn't do anything, Dad. I didn't do anything, Dad.
I think I'm on the outs with Kevin now. I didn't want to be.
Right.
I didn't
totally not a work
him by any means.
Right.
I mean, 2 weeks ago that John and Kevin were doing the podcast.
They say we're all losers, and that's true. But he's saying we're all losers, and that's true. But he's saying, is he gonna come? And is he gonna come?
And then John's feuding with Kevin, and then now you're. Just say it's hard to keep up. I don't know who's feuding with what.
Like, it's impossible to keep up. You guys are doing new work every day, and it's all fake and gay.
That wasn't a plug. That was a butt plug. Are you talking about butt plug Joe Howard? We know about Joe's butt plug he had with the raccoon tail that I saw. Joe Howard had a actual butt plug in his asshole with a raccoon tail. Not too disturbing. Very, very weird. Very gay.
God bless him.
Oh yeah, I wish.
God bless.
You should have got the fancy one with the neon lights and stuff, so it really lights up the situation, so you can see better.
Want to keep the comedy
why exactly were you hanging out with the guy with the butt plug in there, Chad?
Apparently,
what are we doing?
Florentine,
what were you doing?
Louis J. Gomez.
Were you in a sauna by chance with a butt plug?
All removed from the Seattle Comedy Club.
I guess a friend can't be a butt plug, but maybe to Chad.
Yeah.
But this was going all over the internet this weekend.
Yeah, I'm bigger than you guys now. Look,
Comedy Club
I'm the bigger podcast now. See,
and they didn't want to go forward with these acts. What's your take on this one?
Well,
more hot takes. Here we go.
4 are managed by Tommy, right?
I believe you're right.
Tommy Nicky is the one who books a lot of them, so it's just probably they went up to Tommy and said, "Hey, all of your clients,
Tommy,
had controversial opinions, controversial jokes, and they've been on controversial podcasts." So, what Jim said. So I listened to his podcast today because he addresses it on Everybody's Awful. He says that it seemed to me that there was a lot of local comics who were jealous of these East Coast Skankfest, non-PC, non-woke comics were coming to their little inclusive venue, which also has drag bingo and drag brunch and gender-bending gay night and everything like that.
Capitol Hill in Seattle.
So
what did you expect in Seattle, dude?
4 of them
it's called the left coast for a reason.
Retard and retarded. And then
you
got
to know when you're coming out here that
my
people are going to fuck with you, dude.
They said it doesn't really meld with what we have going on here. So, but I guess the good news is for Jim and the rest of them, though that gig canceled, they've had several more gigs pop up and say, "Hey, we'll have you."
Yeah, no, Jim says like he's gotten like 7 offers from Seattle comedy clubs and venues.
Yeah, because he apologized and said, "Sorry, I was going to have all these horrible guys on my show."
It's just like one of these comedy clubs.
Because he acquiesced to the crowd that was throwing tomatoes at him.
They think they're kings of their castle.
Hey,
running comedy.
I'm sorry I was going to have these 3 bad guys on my show. Louis J. Gomez,
I'm not talking about
Jay
I'm
and
talking
Dave
about
Smith.
Like that
Kurt
fucking
Metzger. These are the dangerous guys.
Snappers Bar and Grill. That guy Naboo.
Dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Dangerous comedians.
Shit, man.
Why? What?
Like,
they don't even have any hot takes.
Happy to burn that.
They just have a reputation.
I burned it.
So there's the real.
He took away my weekend and cut my pay and didn't give me a makeup date. I was like, all right,
that time that I lost $100.
As soon as they find out you live in an area, they start treating you different.
So, and then also
I had to go rob a liquor store that weekend.
Kind of
I didn't get caught that time shoplifting.
Comedy clubs. They're
I got away with it.
Room where they do comedy every couple of nights a week. So they'll have Monday will be a paint and sip night, and then Tuesday will be a ceramics and pottery night, and Wednesday would be something
paint
else.
And sniff?
These are usually
is that a thing?
Not
paint and sniff
clubs. There's something
is that what he
else.
Just said? Paint and
then they say,
is that like
hey,
a scratch and sniff, but for painters?
They're not going to last that long.
They sniff the paint thinner so they can get high while they're
when they say
enjoying some painting.
The local comedians and the activist community, I'm like, oh, you mean the same people? Because they're both the same. They're activists and they're comics because they tell long, boring stories with no payoff or punchline.
But even back home,
the pot calling the kettle black there, Tony.
Even
long,
radio,
boring stories that go nowhere. Wow.
I'm giving you guys so much promotion.
Show's built off of that?
So that's why I don't like if I ever move anywhere again, I'm never going to tell anybody where I live because I don't want them to know. I haven't, as soon as I moved to Hollywood, like I used to go out there once a month. I did my show. I was doing spots at the Melrose Improv all the time, Laugh Factory, Ice House, Comedy and Magic Club. But soon
Tony
as I got
bounces
there,
around a lot.
I said I live there.
Is that dude spots,
they all went away?
Met that?
They all went away. So
he's got that clenched jaw thing going on that tweakers have.
Bitch.
Yeah, it's good for these comics. I mean, you have Lewis, Lewis can be a lunatic. Dave is not a lunatic. Dave is probably the most well balanced because he's just more of doing political commentary. But a lot of it is, it doesn't fit with that scene where they have pride flags and pronouns and chest
culture
tattoos,
is downstream from politics, Tony.
I get it. If you're a comedy club, don't you want to
have
more
hot
takes? They do talk about we want a diverse amount of groups. No, you don't. You want
haven't they always set up comedy shows to be diverse?
They always say
like you'll have a black guy, especially in New York City.
Their type of people on stage.
You'll have a black guy, you'll have an Asian, a white guy, and
there's a couple venues that I want to perform at, but I've never.
You'll have a completely different.
One of them's
set
in,
every set is different. I know that.
I know I can.
The comedy venues try to set up shows that way. Always have. I don't know that diversity hasn't been a thing till just recently.
I don't think they would like me, so I don't want to put them in.
Only straight white men, tour.
But that's the one thing is that at least comedy, like a true comedy club, a Funny Bone and Improv, will have.
Of course,
maybe
women
not
aren't
improv.
funny.
They usually book certain comics of color nowadays, but. The rest
comics
of the comedy clubs are like,
what
one
color?
night we'll have Jimmy Dore, who's a liberal.
By the way, they're all Funny Bones now.
Now they're Funny Bones.
Yeah,
but we'll at least have an actual comedy club. We'll book a ventriloquist act followed by like a
hey Frankie,
big time comic.
I don't know when these guys are going
to. It's a little bit more diverse
sooner
voices
the better.
as opposed to we just opened this comedy club and we're going to have a bunch of gay dudes who are comics go up and tell what they think are jokes.
Well, that's why I love BT at Side Splitters. He's like, I don't give a fuck. Just be funny, and I'll give you a date. I don't care.
He said that to you. He was like, just be funny. This one time, that's how it should Chad, be. I'll give you a date. Just be funny.
Either that or you can do the Euro Gyro open mic.
Please, God, Jesus. Chad. Please be funny one time.
Ray was there last night.
Just once.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. Go check out their Instagram page.
Wow. Ray was there. He's still going to the Euro Gyro open mic.
Nothing like driving 40 minutes to do 5 minutes in front of in a pizza place in Kent, Ohio on a Sunday night.
Well, let's all be honest. We kind of know what he did on the way there and the way back.
Tuning their guitars so they can play after.
We'll just say
we
kind of know Ray's MO at this point.
I thought he lived in Strongsville.
Let's be honest here.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. So that is a 45-minute
Ray.
drive.
We know what you do.
To do
for 5 minutes. I mean,
all those ladies. Didn't make it home.
Okay, maybe I'll give Ray a compliment. He still works at it.
The grind. That's the grind.
There's a fucking open
race. He still works at it.
I was warming up for my gig. It's literally 3 miles from my house. I could ride my bike there. It's 2.5.
Literally, it's like literally 3 miles from my house. I can go there, like literally work it out. Literally,
Jesus, 45 minutes.
Yeah, doing open mics are like I get the purpose of them.
I only drive fucking 8 hours so I can make $100 because I mean that pencils out really good math, right?
You're getting your reps, you're getting your rhythm, and then you've got other gigs. If you're the one who just hangs out at open mics, it means you have mental problems. And
I mean,
you have,
if I don't go collect those $100 at a time, how am I going to open up my savings?
Your little hangout. I don't like to hang out at open mics. I like
to
go there, do my shitty 5 minutes, and then
for 5 years from now when you should be retiring,
when I actually have a gig coming up.
Right. Yeah, like when I have shows coming up, I'll go work off the rust, 60. If you will. But yeah, I'm not going to hang at an open mic. I went and did a guest spot Saturday at Side Splitters, but it was they did like a local showcase or whatever. But
how much did you make, Chad?
After my set,
let's hear numbers.
I went home. Like I'm not going to hang out.
I wonder what Side Splitters pays for host.
Yeah, that's too old. Well, because I don't like hanging with comics.
Yeah.
It's just the comics.
I have a feeling they probably don't like hanging with you either. I bet it's mutual.
They're talking about their favorite Marvel movie. Like, yeah, you're a loser. I don't want to be around you.
That's what comics sit around and talk about nowadays is Marvel movies.
Tony, name every WKRP episode, season 2. Go.
Well,
I've hung out with Ray a bunch of times, and he never brought up Marvel once.
No, I don't. I can't tell you.
He brings up a lot of lame shit, but really. Never brought up Marvel.
Do you listen to podcasts?
Yes, I do.
Which ones do you listen to regularly?
Usually the ones on Stormfront and no, I'm just kidding. I listen to Michael Knowles. I listen to Jim Florentine. I've got Michael Malice. Let me see. I'm pulling my podcast queue here.
2 political ones out of 3.
Dr. Steve. I check him out.
Really?
I still listen to the old Gilbert Gottfried podcast because they're pretty timeless.
Yeah.
Pete Quinones, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith,
on his face
the Check Your Brain podcast by this handsome gentleman named Tony Mazur. Misery Loves Company. Artie hasn't posted a podcast in several years. Stone Choir, Michael Savage, Tom Woods. Those are usually my podcasts.
Savage.
I'll name my podcast queue right
Savage now. Is political. So he listens to a lot of
MLC,
politics. And he's not a comedian. And he comes in here and hangs out with the Mudshark and talks comedy.
I don't really listen to it, but
hilarious.
I checked out a few of his podcasts.
I think Kevin's last podcast that he put out for free was Florentine Apologizes. I don't remember what that one was. No. It's Levy Quits MLC. So it was about 6 months ago.
I got Rogan. I got Dana Carvey, David Spade.
Jesus, dude. This is the most compelling fucking podcast ever made. Why don't you worry about making the podcast you're doing right now than talking about podcasts? You're just reading off the names of the fucking podcasts you watch?
Those are my podcasts.
What the fuck are you doing,
anyways,
dude?
The reason why I'm asking, I just listened to an episode of We Might Be Drunk with Mark Norman and Sam Morrell.
Okay.
They had Richard Jefferson on. You remember Richard Jefferson with the Cavs?
You had mentioned this. He said he knows a lot about comedy.
Beloved Chatta, $2. Thank you, sir. Getting the sense.
He pays attention to all.
Getting the sense Chad's glory day is behind him. Glory days. Any young girl's hot glory days.
Yeah, but it was a
any young Chad's hot glory days.
You're with
glory days.
Joe Hayden.
Joe
Hayden, former Browns cornerback.
My guy, man. I love Joe Hayden. I had some fun times with that guy.
No, that would have been cool. You never know, and you and I were talking about
what podcast you looked at lately
last year. When
you watch MLC? Oh no, they haven't posted something in a while.
There was snipe streaming of other snipe
let me see. You guys want me to go through my podcast?
So involved, like
I want to be involved with these guys talking about podcasts.
Are watching it. I believe you. I got Shane was
MLC.
Other people
I got Gratcast.
They were.
I got Keanu Cast.
They just didn't want anybody to know.
I love Kiki.
Attention.
Yeah, and the thing about the whole snipe streaming thing is Kevin's podcast was way bigger than mine. So
speaking of snipe streams,
like I was like
aren't we having fun, folks?
He had like 12,000 subscribers. I don't even have 5. So it wasn't like I was picking on him by any means. And plus, it was just it ran its course. It was just a thing, and then I moved on because
your entire comedy career has run its course, but you didn't move on from that, did you, Chad?
We'll see. We'll see if you get a link at 3:00 here.
Yeah, we'll see.
Send him a link, Adam.
Send him a link.
We'll see. Comedy. Not comedy.
How are you?
It's comedy, not comma C.
Fine.
I finally watched the We Are the World documentary last night.
You did?
The world.
Yes. And it just proved two things. The one thing that
losers
you and I talked
that
about,
do a podcast on a Monday.
And the other one was that Kevin Meaney, We Are the World bit is still brilliant.
Yeah. No, she's fine.
Care.
Whatever. It is what it is.
You do garbage and I don't care.
But
you do a horrible podcast and we don't care.
The thing that I didn't like about it was we all know it happened, but they act like there was this countdown. Like, are they gonna pull it out? Is it gonna happen? It happened. We know it happened. So why are you guys
your head out of your ass?
Oh my God! It's like a race to the finish. Is Prince gonna show?
A race to the bottom.
He didn't show.
Right, Chad.
And Waylon Jennings walks off.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. That was interesting.
That was the only thing I liked about it. There were a couple of things that I didn't mind, but how they were using Sheila E. to try to get Prince on board.
Yeah.
That was about it. Everything else was because they're all like, can you believe it's 4 o'clock in the morning and they're still doing this? Yeah, they're in Hollywood and they're musicians who are night owls. So 4 o'clock to them is like 11 o'clock to us.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
No, it was
wow.
And
who knew?
They made a big deal about.
I never knew that musicians were on a different time schedule than we are. Is that a thing?
You put
like
on YouTube,
studios when they record in the
hour and 40
they record at like 4 in the morning. Is that
Netflix
normal? I guess they probably just lock themselves in there for days.
3 minutes.
We are the world.
Hey, Bruce, what did you think about doing that? Well, I didn't know if I could hit those notes, but I hit the notes and I stuck around and I left. Okay,
yeah, here's
thanks,
the
Bruce.
notes these guys are hitting.
We wasted your
Beloved chatter.
documentary.
That's right. Sleepy time.
Huey Lewis saying
yeah, if you want to take a nap, this is like
Huey Lewis.
Watching this show is kind of like nighttime tea. It's the nighttime tea podcast. It's going to make you sleepy. You're going to be ready to go to bed in the daytime, so you can stay up all night and make music.
Hard rock and roll.
Me and Kumia sang Heart and Soul karaoke one night.
Cause she heart and soul. That's a good song.
I don't want to be on your bad side because I feel like I could.
Do you guys remember Heart and Soul?
Oh yeah, because you and Kumia.
Yeah. Do you guys remember
I just saw the other day
Lewis
the High Pitch Eric? It keeps popping up on my feed of High Pitch Eric giving.
Do you guys remember Back to the Future?
Fillet of fish, and I'm in the background with Kumia, just laughing because Kumia has no idea who Perry is. And what it's about, he just hears this guy yelling like
another fillet of fish reference. And, where's Ski Mask when you need him?
What is going on? I'm like, don't worry about it.
I should have him on my podcast right now, eating fillet of fish with
Lewis, me. I always thought that album cover was funny.
Fish lunch. We had a fish lunch.
Something about it just made me laugh.
After this is over, I might have to go have a fish lunch. Treat myself to a fish fillet. Fish lunch.
Like, why'd they call it sports?
I don't know.
Whoa, what
a good album, though. I still enjoy.
What do they call it?
I don't think he can sing. I think he's mostly.
Why do they call cars?
Yeah, I heard he was deaf.
Car?
He's living in Idaho or Montana, or he's like way up there. He's not doing really anything, though. He was on the sidelines for every 49ers game back in the 80s.
Was he really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, they show him talking to Joe Montana on the sidelines during a lot of NFL films.
Sports.
Doy.
Like they couldn't come up with a
as a 49er fan, yes,
well, I
know this shit.
Let's be honest. From what I've heard about Huey Lewis and his package, he could have used that as a pool cue.
Well, there's a movie. What was the movie called? He does Full Frontal in it.
Oh, really? Does he show off the old theater rope?
Yeah, he pisses. God, what was the movie? I remember
watching. Tony Mazur would be more like the guy in The Sopranos Vito, right?
For, the prosthetic
with the pool cue
Diggler.
Up the ass.
I gotta find out because I'm going crazy now. I gotta know.
Patreon.com/Tony Mazer. I talked to Keanu Thompson this week, and I've got.
You already covered that.
Next week, I've got the History Homos on the podcast, and cool stuff.
You'll fit right in with those guys, I'm sure.
Yes.
The movie
with
was
a name
called
like Homos, I'm sure you'll get along.
Who directed Shortcuts? Anyways, if you guys want to go see Huey Lewis's Hog, go watch Shortcuts. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
Another gay reference. You guys haven't said anything straight this entire fucking show. It makes me wonder.
Robert Altman. Thank you, Mario Lopez. Robert Altman. You're right.
This guy gets it.
This guy gets it, man.
Do you remember Full Frontal Comedy back in the day?
Yeah, who was in that?
It was on like Showtime, I believe.
This sounds very gay.
And I think Bobby Slayton used to host it.
Yeah,
I remember watching an episode. I think it had, or was it? No, it wasn't Bobby Slayton. It was Dom Herrera was hosting it. And I knew it was somebody who had a very gruff
Dom Herrera. Do you guys remember the hilarity that is Dom Herrera?
Episode, I think Otto and George. I think Todd Glass. Maybe Mark Maron, Robert Schimmel, and our closing it out was Chuck Booms.
Do you remember when we was talking about Dom Herrera? Do you remember?
I forgot the name of it, but she did like a comedy show on Showtime, but it had like burlesque dancing and comedy. I remember because Tripoli was on it.
But
I don't remember.
Awful.
You guys have not had like a fucking full thought in like just 10 minutes. Not like you'll go half into a topic and then just stop. That's it. That's the end of it. Ooh, hot take.
Did you ever see the early episode of early for him?
Do you remember
on Evening at the Improv? And he's got that really thick Boston accent with his long hair. It's like you can tell he's going to end up becoming who Doug Stanhope is, but you really can't get by the voice.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's like a different person.
Let me pull it up. Pull it up.
Oh yeah. Pull it up. Pull it up, Mudshark. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure. Rogan. It'll be something you guys can fake laugh at and everything.
Not a real big fan of Kid Rock saying that they should just bomb 30 to 40,000 Palestinians until they get a couple of hostages back. It's a little boomer genocide talk. I'm not a big fan of that. Call me a dove.
If you're going to Kid Rock for your fucking political takes, then
Yeah, it's not like he's just he knows, spouting hyperbolic statements, right?
He knows what he is. He knows his audience.
You guys should try it sometime. Maybe actually get some viewers on your show. Cool. People might actually care about what you're saying if you just said crazy shit.
It's somewhere out there.
Will piss people off. It's almost like that's what he's doing, right?
On your own. Check it out on your own, everybody.
It's called Over the Top.
Well, Tony, like they say in the business, we're up against it.
Yep,
just like Sylvester Stallone in the arm wrestling movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think he's mad. I think he's mad at me because I want to fucking. You want me? Do you want to get annoyed before we go?
Sure, let's do it.
Are you fucking kidding me? This. Do you want to be annoyed before we go?
Yeah, that's Eurogyro right there. You should use that.
I'm annoyed. Aren't you annoyed? Right there. Wow.
Ray.
Wow.
Good old Ray.
I just saw Ray.
God bless. Send him the link next week.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'll come on. I talked to Ray. Why not? See what he says.
Let's
you guys are
with
good friends, I'm sure.
Let's see if Chad can be back in the Ray DeVito business.
Nah, that's cool. I don't need him to call me. We're good. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. This will be up on Patreon and YouTube memberships. Go sign up to Tony's. Go sign up to mine. This was Mondays with Mazer, and we appreciate all your support and continued support. And we will continue doing this show. Bye-bye, everybody. Yeah.
That's right. Come back for lots more entertainment like this. We will be having it. We will be doing it. There's lots more of their show is trash. It's trash. You can come laugh at them with me. You could do it here or on the Sniper Network, like I'm showing you there. Lots more of this is going to be happening. It's happening. Well into the future, we will be trashing Chad. So go subscribe to the Sniper Network, please. I will be privating these on the BYB network, and I'll leave them up on the Sniper Network. So if you want to watch the playback, you'll have to do it over there. So my camera looks like shit. Sorry about that. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope I can make you laugh a little bit more than Tony Mazur and fucking Chad Zumach. Cringe.
I had to fight my whole life. I could beat you up even if you had 1,000 knives. Even if you had infinity knives, I would punch you up into the air like a kite. I bet you sleep with the night light, cause you're scared of the dark, cause you stink like a fart. Well, I light your fartum fire with my rhymes. You think I won't? I do it all the time. I bet I got more money than Jay-Z. Compared to me, Jay-Z is lazy. Plus Beyonce thinks that I'm cute. It's okay, Beyonce, I think you're cute too. I made out with so many girls. Made out with every girl in the world. I might look small, but I'm not. I don't care if you're big, I'll fight you. Well, I do know that the baddest of them all. If you ain't about money, then I don't mess with y'all. Y'all think I don't get girls, cause I ain't very tall. If she see my stats, I bet you that she calls. Cause I am the baddest of them all. If you ain't about money, then I don't mess with y'all. Y'all think I don't get girls, cause I ain't very tall. If she see my stats, I bet you that she calls.